Welcome back. Yesterday, Governor Walz signed a bill that raises the age limit for purchasing and possessing Kratom. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this, it's a plant from Southeast Asia. It's been promoted as a natural treatment for anxiety, even used for drug dependence here. Joining us more to talk more in depth about this is Dr. Alta DeRoo from Hazelden Betty Ford. Thanks for being with us again.
My pleasure, Rob.
Now, we chatted about this earlier in the session about this bill, now that it is signed. Well, first of all, let's give a little bit more background for those who don't remember what Kratom does, how it's been used, and what the concerns are.
Yeah, so like you were mentioning, Kratom is a native plant to Southeast Asia, mostly used in Malaysia. So the workers there or the people in Malaysia may put it in their mouth, suck on it, and at a low dose, it gives them a stimulant, sort of like how we would drink coffee. In fact, it's very much related to coffee, the coffee plant. However, at high doses, it stimulates the opioid receptor. And that's when people start feeling a sense of euphoria. And one of the metabolites of Kratom is 7-OH, which is often referred to as 7-hydroxy. And that is even more potent. So more potent than something like morphine, but a little less potent than fentanyl, but still dangerous, and people could get the opioid effects and overdose from something like this.
And how much of this have you seen in your practice about people that have been using this and overusing it?
So we see this a lot at Hazelden Betty Ford. We see it up in Center City at our large facility, but we also see it down in Plymouth with our youth and our emerging adults. The reason why it's so prevalent amongst the ages 18 through 24 is that this can be ordered off the internet. You can order off the internet. You can get it at most of the smoke shops that you see in town, those tobacco shops that you see in the strip mall. And so this is a kind of a legal low risk way, or I'm sorry, a low risk of legal issues.
Okay.
So we see it mostly in them.
Yeah. So now, what do you think about, obviously supporting raising the age to possess this? How much of a difference do you think it'll make raising it just by a few years in age?
Yeah, great question. It's a step in the right direction, and I commend for raising the age. I don't think this is going to make a huge difference. I still think that the younger population are going to be able to order this online by just clicking a button that says that they're 18 and older. I think this is just going to provide a means for maybe holding somebody legally accountable. But I don't think that it's going to decrease the use or decrease the risk of overdoses or the population, the using population that we see at our facilities.
So do you think that this bill then, and now law in Minnesota really is kind of empty in a sense, that it just, it's a good move that you support, but at the same time, maybe just doesn't have enough teeth in it?
Right. I would say it doesn't have enough teeth in it. Currently, I believe there are 7 states that outlaw it altogether in their state. With Minnesota, if we allow this to be used recreationally, I think that mostly our youth are going to see the risks in there. So as a physician, I'm concerned because this it can lead to overdose. We treat it with Suboxone, which is the same medication that you would treat somebody who's using fentanyl. And then as a parent, I'm very concerned. I have school-age children in the area, and this, unfortunately, will become very popular.
So what would you advocate for moving forward as a state? If this is step 1, what is step 2, 3, 4?
Stronger regulation. It concerns me that this is available so easily at the tobacco shops. Concerns me that there aren't many legal means to prevent somebody from under the age of 21. So I would love to see more strict legal and
would you
access.
support an outright ban in Minnesota?
I would, yes, I would love to see this not here in our state. We do a great job at fighting addiction, and if we have a choice right now to say we don't want this in our state, I would love to take advantage of that. So like I said, there are other states around the country who have done this. I've seen the effects of overdose of kratom. I've seen the effects of overdose of 7-OH, which is a more powerful metabolite of kratom that's being sold with kratom. I've seen these overdoses. I've seen the liver failure, and I've seen the influence that these colorful packets have on our youth and how it seems very fun to buy and use.
All right. Well, so in light of the fact, again, raising the age limit to 21, but you still believe that people under that age are going to find access to it. What do you tell parents to watch out for if they're concerned?
Right. So the kids are still going to, at high doses, this kratom or 7-OH, meaning 7-OH is another, it's a derivative of kratom, but sold with kratom. You're going to see kids sleeping more with this 7-OH. You may see them with euphoria, falling behind on their schoolwork. Some of the biggest things that we see at our youth and emerging adults facility is that they miss school. Their grades start going down. They have a change in personality. I think one of the other things, too, is that this isn't going to show up on a routine drug screen. So you would have to be sending this out to a lab to get it tested. So as a parent, just very concerned about my kids having access to this, look for these colorful packets that you have in their trash or in the backpacks. But as far as it affecting the kids, they're probably going to be sleeping more after taking this or having a small personality change.
Okay. And as Chief Medical Officer of Hazelden Betty Ford, you certainly would be behind tightening these regulations with further legislation.
Yes, yes, I would. We treat this all the time. It's not difficult to treat. When people come in, we treat it again with the same medication that we would for somebody who's taking fentanyl or morphine or heroin. So we can treat this, but because it's not regulated by the United States, or by the FDA, there's other additives in there like E. coli. Because this is made in people's houses, their garages, their basements, and so it can be contaminated with unintended type of contaminants that could hurt people. Several years back, there was a large amount of people died from kratom because of an E. coli contamination.
All right. Well, thanks for taking some more time with us today to kind of update us on this with this new law. But again, it sounds like from your perspective, just step one, not nearly enough.
Right, step one.
Thanks so much, Dr. Alta DeRoo, the Chief Medical Officer at Hazelden Betty Ford. All right, time